Hello and welcome back to the Pulse with Willie and Al. How you doing today, Al?
Ah, man, living the dream. It's our 21st episode. Today is we're recording this. It's Halloween.
Yes, it
So that's
is.
fun. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
great.
This is my costume, my sweater where I look like Grimace from McDonald's. So, we're doing all right. How are
Uh,
you, Willie?
Dude, I'm doing well, man. I told you before. I pinched a nerve in the middle of my back, but I'm not like Deshaun Watson. I'm suiting up. I don't want to let the fans down today. I'm showing up for sure. So, and you're right, man. This is our 21st episode, our Got Yourself a Dub episode. So we
Yeah.
are back. Before we hop into things right away, I just want to mention, guys, you've been doing a great job about it, but make sure you smash that subscribe button, like the video, drop us a comment, let us know what you think. You may want to be dropping a comment after this episode because we got a new little segment coming in for you guys, make things a little more interactive. So, we'll jump into things right here. We got the NFL week 8, so there was some great stuff in week 8. But let's start on a bad note and then finish on a good one. First one, Kirk Cousins going down.
Yeah.
Listen,
Ooh.
I'm absolutely crushed for this guy. Like, I just am so sad to see that. Seeing him, and I don't know if you saw him get kind of carried on or onto the cart. He was still cheering his team on when he got onto the cart. Like it, for me, that just, I don't know. I know you're not a huge fan of his, but for me, I've followed him for years now. I definitely like this guy a lot. I'm wishing him a speedy recovery, and I mean, I don't know what the Vikings are going to do going forward without him. I mean, he's a big piece of that.
Yeah, they're first of all, you hate to see that. And I've started coming around on Kirk Cousins. He just what I saw Sunday with him like still cheering on his team, like you gotta love that. You do.
Yeah.
Um, it's really sad to see because this seems like this is the season from hell for the Vikings. Um, and now they're gonna have to rely on a rookie, Jared Hall, for to be their quarterback because they don't have anybody else. Nick Mullins is on IR.
Hmm.
Kirk Cousins is now on IR. Like it's just Justin Jefferson's on IR. Like it's just tough sledding right now, man. And you kind of hate to see it. They had such a good year last year, and it's like I said, just a year from hell from them for them.
Yeah, they were not able to remedy what they did earlier in the year. They've started to turn it around a little bit, and that's the part I think that's kind of scary about it. As you look, they started playing pretty well. You know, they take that game from the Niners and stuff, and you start thinking like, okay, like if the playoffs started today, they'd be in. And like,
Yeah.
it's just very sad to see. And I was going to ask you because this was on my mind Sunday when I saw that happen. There's been a big uptick in Achilles injuries this year, and or at least it seems that way. You got the big names, obviously Aaron Rodgers, J.K. Dobbins, Tre'Davious White, and now Kirk Cousins. But is it a real big uptick that we're seeing, or is it just the big names that we're focused on?
I this is the hill I'm going to die on. I think that like all the turf that they're playing on, I think is causing these injuries. Like just play on grass, man. Like all through your youth, you're playing sports on grass, and then like you get on a high enough level like D1 and then professional, like you're playing on these weird turfs that like studies have shown like people are getting you're going to get hurt more, and these injuries are more bound to happen. And I think there's a little part of me too that like this is just a weird year for injuries, and there's just a lot more Achilles injuries. But like,
Hmm.
I think a big part of it too is like the turf that players are playing on isn't safe. Like just go back to natural grass, man.
Yeah, I mean, you can cut a lot faster. I understand that piece of it, but when I see them, it's really concerning as you start to see more and more guys get hurt. I know the ACL injuries have been there this year too, but I don't know, a question that came to mind. But we definitely wish him a speedy recovery. We want to see him get back out there. I don't expect a 4-week turnaround like Aaron Rodgers, but we do expect at least him to be healthy for the start of next year, or we're hoping for
Can we
that.
can we talk about that real quick? The Jets Giants game, he was like warming up and like throwing passes,
Yeah, I saw
which
that.
is excuse my language, is fucking insane.
Yeah, it's nuts,
Like,
man.
what?
Uh, this guy, I remember him. So there's conspiracy theories out there on Reddit saying that like he didn't actually tear his Achilles and like, but I can't understand any benefit to that. There's no upside to that
Yeah.
story. Uh, Okay, so he's gonna sit there and watch Zach Wilson lose games or barely win games and watch his team struggle. Like I don't know. I can't get behind that. But seeing him there, I don't know. I got a little excited in me, just to be like, wow, could we actually see him back? And if they finish the season, say 8-7, or they won't finish the season that way, but if they're 8-7, 7-7, something like that, he's coming back, man. He's going to come back, and they're going to try to make a playoff run.
Yeah. Who, man, that's, yeah. I mean, Zach Wilson has been like kind of lucking into some games. Like
Hmm.
that Giants game, no exception. He did nothing for 58 minutes of that game and
Oh,
then had that
that's
one crazy drive.
yeah,
And
that's
then that's it. Yeah.
conservative. Yeah, and then you
Yeah.
watch what happened there. You're like, oh yeah, like this is over. Like he gets sacked by Thibodeau, right? Fumbled the ball
Yeah.
from that. Yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah, and so
I
I'm
think
like,
he got sacked.
oh, this is over. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he got sacked there. But then you see it and you're like, oh, this game's over. And then they missed the field goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Really, really tough to swallow that one. And breathe life back into a team that really you didn't want to breathe life into. So,
No.
speaking of teams that just not looking good right now, can we just? I just want to take a break and point out Devonte Adams right now. I feel so bad for this guy. Now, okay, he left Green
I
Bay.
don't feel bad,
I
but I
know.
will.
I know. So hear me out on this. Like, how can we not help this dude? I just don't get it. Listen, I see him on TV every week. Like he's getting open. He's breaking away from coverage. He's cutting one way. The other guy, the defender's cutting the opposite way. He's wide open by 7-8 yards, and they're not throwing him the ball. Or some weeks he will get like 10 catches or 7 catches, something like that. But did you see the game last night? Not last night. The
Yeah.
2 nights ago. Like this guy should have had at least 3 touchdowns. At least. And I'm
Yeah.
looking at that and I'm like, okay, one should have been a 98-yard touchdown. One was like roughly about 60 yards, and the other one was just shy of 40. And I'm looking at that. Two of them he gets overthrown on. One of them he gets underthrown. They pick the ball. I don't know. Then I see him over on the sideline, and right that makes the clip, right? He comes over to the sideline, takes his helmet off, smashes it down, and like I look at that and you see him put his head in his hands, and when he lifts his face up, you just see the pain, man. You see
Yeah.
it that he just does not want to be going through this right now. I feel bad for him, and I know you don't because he kind of forced his way out of Green Bay, but I felt like his hand was a little forced doing that as well.
Sure. I, I also too like you knew you were going to get traded to the rate. Like I don't know what he expected. Like if he just do any sort of research, like the Raiders are never really good.
Yeah. Yep.
Like they'll make the playoffs once every like 10 years.
Hmm.
And that's a lot of 4-12 or now like 4-13 seasons. I don't know what this guy was expecting. Like when you got traded to the Raiders.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, I think he was hoping to be able to play with his buddy, that they were going to be somewhat competitive, but like McDipshit Daniels again, right? Like sorry, Dad, but like
well, hot,
I just
hot take David Carr's not good. Like that's
yeah. I mean,
he's not.
he's serviceable. That's the thing, and I thought maybe with them kind of leaning on that college rapport they had built together, they could make something happen. Put it this way, I'm not going to say he's great. There's a lot of teams in this league that would gladly take him on their team. Like,
Yeah.
and I just
I,
I don't
as
know.
a Patriots fan, I'd take him at this point. Like
Well, funny thing about the Pats. So sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night. I look at my phone and I like don't realize what time it is or anything. But like I saw this message that came through and it said Mac Jones was released, and I was like, what? Like, what happened? And I realized it was in fantasy. Someone had dropped him in the league, and I was like, oh man, I thought Bill Belichick was making like a hard move and just dropping him and saying, listen, we're done with this guy. So kind of
I couldn't
funny.
get that lucky if I wanted to be.
So, oh man, but let's move on to some good information, right? Bengals, they get the big win over the 49ers. Like this one makes me feel so good. Burrow just he looks like him again. And
Yeah.
this is a division. I'm so excited that he wins and stuff, but I look at that division now. You've got Baltimore at 6-2, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, all 4-3. Like this
Yeah.
division is so tight, and there's so many good teams that I don't know what's going to end up happening in here. I just my money is on the Bengals. I will not bet against Joe Burrow. I can't do it. I can't do it, man.
Yeah. I mean, Baltimore has already beaten Cincinnati once. Granted, I think it was like what, like first week of the season or something like that.
Yeah.
Or first couple weeks of the season when Cincinnati just A wasn't healthy, B couldn't get it right.
Hmm.
But I mean, I guess like it's Baltimore's division to lose at this point because they have like what, a 2-1 division record. And the two teams they've already beaten on the road, which I think is pretty huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess you really can't count Burrow out. Like
He's one of those guys like Mahomes. I just don't want to bet against him because it's like he just subconsciously knows, like, oh, you bet against me? Watch
yeah,
this. Watch this now.
yeah,
So it's I mean like we talk about the Ravens there, but let's talk about these other teams too in the AFC. Like you got four teams now at 6-2, right? The Dolphins, Jaguars, Chiefs, and Ravens. Like the Chiefs, they just lost to the Broncos, but I mean Mahomes wasn't feeling well. He had the Taylor Swift sickness, right? Taylor Swift flu. Uh,
yeah.
he might have got that from kissing Travis or something. I don't know. But then I look through the Jags. They look tough. I mean, they beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. It's a tough thing to
That was a
do.
sloppy game though. That game was
Yeah,
close for a while.
yeah. And I mean, we'll touch on that Pittsburgh game a little bit in just a minute here, but and then the Dolphins, right? The return of Ramsey, he looked good. I mean, it's sad that it was against your Pats, but he did look good.
Yeah,
It was good to
yeah.
see him back out there again.
And we'll talk about it next episode too. But I mean, the Dolphins have a statement game against the Chiefs in Germany on Sunday, and I've said this for a while now. I don't trust the Dolphins in a big game.
Yeah, they haven't
I
really
don't.
beat anyone that good yet.
And the teams, so their first big game was against Buffalo, and then
Hmm.
they let up 48. Buffalo smoked them.
Hmm.
Then they had the big Sunday night game against the Eagles. Eagles pretty much kind of do the same thing, just really just kick the shit out of them.
Hmm.
Like we're going to talk about it tomorrow, but I don't trust that the Dolphins will win this. I don't.
Yeah.
So, although it, there's the Tyreek Hill revenge game factor, which does if you have him in fantasy, whoo boy,
Yeah, that's a guy you don't want to bet against either, right? Like it's kind
no,
of but all right. Well, again, we're going to chat more about it tomorrow and stuff, so I'll kind of give my ideas on that game between two juggernaut of juggernauts, or one that looks like one and one that doesn't. So, but let's move on here. So the Thursday night football game, we got Tennessee at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's getting 3 points. The over/under's 36. Listen, I expect a low-scoring, hard-hitting game. That's kind of it for me.
yeah, I know like everybody wants to talk about like Will Levis. Tannehill's questionable, so I think on a short week, I don't think they're gonna start him on Thursday. So I think it's gonna be Levis again. I he looked good, man. Like say what you want,
He,
like he looks.
yeah, he did, and man, I'm happy to see
Granted,
it.
granted, it's against Atlanta, who doesn't really defensively have it going on.
Well, they
Uh,
lost Grady Jarrett too, so that didn't help them up front.
yeah,
So that's a kind of a rough thing. But you're right. Like it's not against like a world-beating team, but you can't really say like what do we know about like great defenses? San Francisco was great 3 weeks ago, and all of a sudden they were
right,
like, hey, let's the thing that we're good at, let's stop doing that. So
yeah. It's tough because as much as I want to love Will Levis, First of all, I don't trust any person that puts mayonnaise in their coffee. Fuck that noise. I
Yep.
do not trust that. That's beyond a red flag for me.
Yeah.
First of all, okay, I don't trust that.
Yeah, who would ever do that?
Two,
Mayonnaise in coffee? Like that doesn't even sound appetizing.
I apologize if we have any listeners from the South, but that just seems like something would do in the South.
Yeah,
Like
very
so.
ridiculous.
But also too, I with this game, Pittsburgh seems to drag people down to their level,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. Like Jacksonville's a perfect example of that. Like it was just like a sloppy like haymaker fight, and then Jacksonville just was kind of the more talented team, so they eventually pulled away.
Hmm.
But Pittsburgh will make you like hang out in the muck for a while with them, and I
Yeah.
my fear is with an inexperienced quarterback and somebody named TJ Watt just trying to destroy you. I don't think this is going to end well for Tennessee. I don't.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of the tough thing. Like this is the thing that I expect is I expect Tennessee to run the ball a lot and play good defense. And they haven't played amazing defense this year. Like their running game's been really good. Their defense just hasn't, right? But I expect a big dose of Derrick Henry, even despite the trade rumors, right? Like it's pretty clear, I think, that he's not going to get traded now. No team's going to take on that contract, I don't think, at this point.
Right.
And without him restructuring yesterday, doesn't look like he's getting traded today.
No.
But
I mean,
I
Tennessee
expect them
did
to
have
run a
six
lot.
sacks on Atlanta. Granted, it's Desmond Ritter and Taylor Heineke. So, like,
Yeah,
say what you want about that, but still, 6 sacks is 6 sacks in the NFL.
it
Like,
is. Yeah.
yeah.
My
So,
my big question, and listen, you talk about Pittsburgh's defense, but is their offense going to be able to get it going this week? Because I just feel like it was just a sad loss to Jacksonville at home. You know, bad drops, bad play, bad all around. Like it does not look like this offense knows what to do. And I know people want to keep putting it on Matt Canada, but at some point the players have to play.
yeah.
Right? Like there's
Well,
teams out there, Al, like and you've seen it before
yeah.
where you know what's coming, right? Okay, like
Yeah.
we know the play that's coming. You still have to line up and defend it, right? Or you
Yeah.
still have to execute the play. People knew that when Brady lined up on 4th and 1, he was QB sneaking it up the middle, right? Like you knew that was coming all the time, right? And you still couldn't do anything to stop it. So I don't know. For me, like I feel like Canada deserves some of the blame, but I don't know. The rest of it, the offense needs to get it figured out.
Yeah. A couple things. It does seem like Pickett is questionable to play this game,
Yeah.
which, if that's the case, he was limited in practice, I guess, for today or for Monday.
Hmm.
Um, so if that's the case, they're gonna obviously go to Mitch Trubisky, which kind of changes things for me.
Yeah.
To be honest with you,
He's
yeah,
your
I
favorite,
don't.
right?
Oh, love him so much. My God, just chef's kiss of quarterback.
Yep.
Like he's like the one quarterback I would not take over Mac Jones at this point.
Yeah.
Well, Desmond Ritter, I wouldn't take Desmond Ritter either.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. Ah,
But
man.
yeah, I think offensively, yeah, you're right. Like you still have to stop those plays. Like Pittsburgh finds a way to like they just kind of figure it out most of the time. Um,
Yeah. I
so
mean,
also
yeah.
I was gonna say also it does look like though Minka Fitzpatrick is going to be out for Thursday.
Yeah, that's what I
So
was gonna say. His hamstring injury, it did not look good. Even if Pickett, and I feel like Pickett's been banged up all year, right? Like he gets a
yeah,
concussion, or clearly gets a concussion on TV, and then they're like, no, he's not going in protocol, and you're like, oh, that's weird. Like, why not? So
yeah,
I don't know. The biggest issue with me with that game on Sunday was like that field goal, and like the kicker Boswell ended up posting it on Twitter. You could see it was so minimal. Like I didn't think it was enough to really call an offsides penalty, but they stated the right guard lined up like in the neutral zone. They said his head was over the back edge of the ball, but to me I wasn't able to see that. What were your thoughts on it?
yeah. That seemed like a really questionable call, like which is pretty on brand for the NFL this year, and like just weird stuff that either doesn't get called or then stuff that you haven't seen get called in a long time.
Hmm.
So like I'm with you. Wasn't buying that penalty. I
Okay.
I
Y-
wasn't.
Yeah, I felt like they got screwed there, but again, even if you gave them the 3 points on that, Yeah, you could say it would have changed momentum and stuff, but like they still lost by more than three. So in my mind, like you guys had enough time in
Yeah.
the rest of the game to be able to make it up. But long story short on this, what do you have for a score in this game?
I I don't think Pickett plays because it's a short week,
Hmm.
which means it's Mitch Trubisky, which drastically changes how I look at this game. I think it's going to be Tennessee 17, Pittsburgh 10.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have 21-17 Tennessee winning. So, pretty close. We're pretty close to each other
Yeah.
on that. And we were pretty close last week on the Thursday night game. I want to mention that. I feel like we didn't mention that, but it basically just certifies us as partial geniuses.
Yeah, pretty
I think
much.
your
Pretty
genius
much.
status, I'm just a tier below that. So,
Ooh,
uh,
no, no. I haven't done a single thing right in what seems like in ages. If you go back and listen to any of the stuff I picked in baseball, just don't listen to me. Don't do it.
Well, listen, we're gonna move on real quick to fantasy before we wrap up here. Just a few things now. Listen, I just want to mention Al's and my buddy John. We both know him from high school and stuff, but like John and I have played fantasy football together for 18 years now. And we have a history of when we play together, or when we meet for a matchup in the league, it always ends up being like 1 to 2 points in between. And like even if the prediction for the score is going to be like 15 or 20 more for one of our teams, like it something always happens that it's that close. I was up last year like 40 points going into the last night and I was like, "Oh, I'm easily going to win this." One of his guys had a career night. He ends up winning by 1 point. Like I beat him
Yeah.
2 years ago by point 0.1 points. So last night he was up 3 points. He had Jared Goff going. I had Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I was like, okay, like I think I got a shot at this because I've seen the way it kind of work out. And Amon-Ra, I know, is like an intricate part of that offense. I ended up winning by a point. So it was amazing,
Insane.
but like we still keep the respect for each other. So that's the one thing I love playing him every year because I know he's a very smart drafter. He's very good. He's always going to put together a good lineup, and I feel like we're always competitive with each other with that. But
Yeah.
I got to tell you real quick about the Guillotine League. Now, another person that both Al and I know, Jeff Broder. So Jeff was a
Man.
so we both know him from high school. We wrestled with him. He was an all-class wrestler, and actually he led the state of Massachusetts for wins in high school and middle
Just
school.
one
So
of the strongest human beings I know. Not just like mentally, but like physically strong.
yeah,
Like you look at him and you're like, he's not a very big dude. But then like, nah, that guy's strong, man.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
oof,
he now trains athletes for professional sports. So like he was training some guys that were going into the NFL draft. Like he's
yeah.
worked with guys before like that. He's working with a bunch of girls as well. I'm not sure exactly what sport, but anyhow, really good guy.
The college he works at is actually pretty close to me. He works a lot at,
Ah,
from what I've seen, at Franklin Pierce, and
okay.
that's like 30 minutes from Keene.
Oh my God,
So
Franklin Pierce, did you say that?
yeah,
I'm almost certain Fred went there. Almost certain. I could be wrong about that, but
call him up.
yeah,
Call him up.
listen, let's bring him on. So, anyhow, the
Yeah.
reason we bring up Jeff is because listen, I didn't want to bring this up on here, but listen, I feel I have to. We see silly moves in fantasy sometimes. Like it definitely happens. Some are in our control, some are not. Now, you
Yeah.
can't control when a guy pops off or has a dud game. Like sometimes that just happens. You got to try to make the best logical move in terms of starting a guy or sitting a guy. But listen, the stars aligned for my buddy in our Guillotine League this weekend. So, uh, Broder had Patrick Mahomes, who had the Taylor Swift flu. He had
Yep.
Tony Pollard, who was basically non-existent in his team's drubbing of the Rams.
Which
He
is
ha-
wild. But okay. Yep.
he had DeAndre Hopkins, but he was on his bench.
Hawkins had a huge game.
Yep.
Ooh, yeah.
He was on his bench, which is a big oof. But the
Yep.
last piece, and listen, this was the cherry. He started Brett Maher, who, in case
Didn't he,
most,
didn't he get cut?
he got cut 2 weeks ago by the Rams after
That's
a
what
Week 7
okay.
performance. So where he missed 2 field goals. So the message in this after Jeff getting cut this week is control what you can and don't worry about the rest. But listen, it's all love, Jeff, and we hope to have you back next year. So
No. But
uh,
maybe next year, maybe keep maybe keep a kicker that is actually active in the
Yeah.
league.
Yeah, that might have
Suggest.
helped him. I
Yeah.
think I don't know if it would have made the difference. I don't think it would have if he had started the right one maybe, but if Hopkins was there, there's no way he's going home this week. So,
Yeah.
it's a tough thing. But all right, so moving on. Last thing we're going to do before we wrap up here, we got a new segment, like we told you guys. We got a trivia question. So we're going to do some trivia
Yeah.
questions, and this because of the time of year that it is. I think World Series history is a great way to be able to go. So what we're going to do is we'll ask the questions now. We've got two of them, and we will provide you the answers in the next episode. So that way you guys can check. If you want to, you can comment down below with what you think, but this is exactly the way we're going to do it. And we're really hoping people get it right, but we are ready for some wrong answers. So,
Yeah.
all right. So the first question we've got is what team was the last wild card team to win the World Series? So what we're looking for is the last wild card team to win the World Series.
Yeah. Not the
And
last wild card team that's appeared in the World Series.
right,
The last wild card team to win the World Series.
right. And why is that significant, Al? What?
Because this year, both teams, the Texas Rangers and the Arizona Diamondbacks, are both wild card teams.
Ah, there we go.
So,
So nice
yeah.
little twist on that. You want to give him
Yeah.
the second question?
Yeah. So, Arizona came into this World Series with 84 wins, which is the second lowest ever for a World Series participant. Who had the least amount of regular season wins and still made it to the World Series?
Made
That
it
is
or
question
won?
number
Made
2.
it or won the World Series?
I'm sorry. Won the World Series.
Okay.
Won the World Series.
All
Yeah.
right. And again, this is COVID year excluded. So make sure
Yes.
we're looking
Yes.
for the least amount of wins for a World Series winning team.
Yeah.
All right. And then again, you guys can comment below. That way we'll know or be ready to watch the next episode because we'll definitely answer that for both of you guys. Al, anything else you want to mention?
Nah, man. Today being Tuesday is Halloween night. So just everybody stay safe out there. Have a good time. That's pretty
Absolutely.
much it. Yeah.
And yeah, trade deadline today too. So
Oh yeah, the NFL trade deadline. Yep.
yeah, so we'll
4
definitely
p.m. Eastern
cover.
Standard.
Yeah, we will cover some of that tomorrow when we film, and you guys will get that episode on Friday. But
Yep.
listen, guys, we really appreciate the support. Keep it rolling in. We appreciate the comments, the feedback, all of that stuff. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We will be back tomorrow with our Week 9 matchups and our World Series coverage. Remember, if you like it, if you love it, drop a comment. If you don't, let us know. But don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Make sure you like the video. And if you want to reach out to us, you can email us at thepulsewa@gmail.com. Again, you can find me on Twitter at Willie Creeman FF and on Twitch at Willie Creeman. But other than that, Al, I love you, bud.
Man, I love you too. Stay safe, buddy.
All right, you take care. Have a good night.
Peace.